green flag pit stops. Here we go. Green flag pit stops.
Sorry, guys. Rick Ware Racing Ballet coming
what's
through.
going on? What? Hey, what the heck, dude?
Gosh.
Come on.
I'm so
Come
sorry.
on.
Oh, I am
You're such
so
an
sorry.
idiot. You are
I
an
don't know what
idiot.
I was doing.
IDIOT.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Daytona
come
500.
on.
Oh,
no,
man,
that car, dude. Come on.
Oh,
no.
gosh, no. Sparks everywhere on my car.
You guys are literally
No,
the worst. I hate
man,
all
this
of
was
you.
a bad idea from
Terrible.
the start.
Oh, my gosh. I was the
gosh,
pole sitter. Come on.
no.
William Crossland crew, how are you doing? William Crossland here, as always, back with another new season of Race Reviews. And today we get to talk about the 61st running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. And quite honestly, this has been the best Daytona 500 personally for me in recent memory, at least the past decade of watching a race from beginning to end, watching the 500 from beginning to end. A lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get right into it.
In stage one, Stenhouse made the inside line work to lead lap 4. This was really big for the race because the last thing we wanted was them to go immediately into the train.
You know, I gotta be honest with you, us as NASCAR fans, we were a little cautious going into the 500. We were nervous after we saw what happened in the dual races, and especially the Clash. They were riding the Highline cushion, single file on the Highline all race long. They weren't trying to make any moves. Some say it's the aero kit, some say it's the driver's fault for not making moves. Jim France said something in the drivers' meeting on Sunday before the 500 that I think really turned the tide for the drivers. What we saw in the 500 was what we were wanting to see all speed weeks long. It's definitely been a weird speed weeks.
Matt DiBenedetto leads his first laps in the 500, and I think first career laps led ever. And really a good day for Matt DiBenedetto, and hopefully a telltale sign of the strong future he has ahead of him.
We finally saw 2 wide, 3 wide racing, and it was a pleasure to see, and really seeing Matt DiBenedetto getting up there and leading, and also William Byron up there leading a lot of the race really put a big smile on my face.
The Hendrick front row, William Byron and Alex Bowman, both fell through the sucker hole at different times in the first stage. Corey LaJoie's face was ripped. RIP, first caution. Casey Mears was the first guy off the pit road in the caution flag pit stops, and I swear I could hear Kamikaze Games all the way from North Dakota. Back to green, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. maintains the lead with a lot of 3 wide shuffling behind them. Still a really good thing to see. Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Jamie McMurray were involved in Kurt Busch's slight turn down onto Ricky Stenhouse Jr. There really was no contact. It was just an aerodynamic thing on the rear, and it caused a second caution. And unfortunately, it put a lot of damage on Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and not as much as on Jamie McMurray, but really Kurt Busch and Bubba Wallace took the bad end of that, and it really ruined Bubba Wallace's day. This was really sad because, you know, we were all pulling for Bubba Wallace to have a good finish in his next Daytona 500. 7 to go, Kyle Busch remained your leader. Logano was moving up fast though by himself into the lead pack, and he made it to the 3rd position at the end of stage 1. He did a lot of moving by himself, some a little bit with the help of teammate Ryan Blaney in the 12th, but really making a lot of moves without the draft on the outside by himself.
You know, as much as I'd like to bash on Joey Logano, he really did make a statement. All race long, you could consider him as a contender for the win, even at the end.
So stage 1 winner was Kyle Busch. DiBenedetto back up to the lead, and this is where he really took charge of leading the most laps of the entire race. And as the Fords worked together in the back of the pack, the lead pack of Toyotas and Chevys were very strong. And halfway through stage 2, Matt DiBenedetto was still leading. And what was really exciting about this was the pack with Matt DiBenedetto was getting all the way across the track and about to lap a bunch of really competitive cars in the second pack that was behind them, now in front of them. And he started lapping a lot of really good cars. And like Mike Joyce said, Ryan Preece went to the back like a hot dog shooting out of a bun, as he would put it. And Almirola got a good outside push. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. showed some signs of overheating 3 laps to go in stage 2, but apparently he recovered. And your stage 2 winners, similar to last year, was Ryan Blaney. Now to settle it all and find the winner of the Daytona 500. Fast forward to 50 laps to go. William Byron and Jimmy Johnson were both battling for the lead, made Rick Hendrick proud. All of a sudden, BJ McLeod and Cody Ware from Rick Ware Racing started sliding in unison, it almost seemed. That's why I made the ballet joke earlier. It involved Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Tyler Reddick as they were sliding onto pit road, and really put it ripped the back quarter panel of Jimmy Johnson's car enough to where you could see the fuel line. It was crazy. 6th caution of the night. Jamie McMurray led about a lap or so with right front damage, and it was really nice to see him back up front with what might be the last race of his career.
Yeah, props for Jamie McMurray. He ended up leading a lap, and that was impressive because, it is his final run in the Cup Series as far as we know, and he'll be going to the Fox Sports booth. He's been there a lot before. I'm excited to see him there full time. But he had a lot of right front nose damage, and they had black taped it up. And there he was, still in the front pack. And that's something we see in Nork, in the Daytona 500. How they I know it's a sim, but still a lot of those drivers had really bad front end damage, but they were able to stay up there in the front because as long as they had somebody pushing them, they were fine.
And then we get a caution for debris, lap 174. What?
It didn't sit well with me because that hasn't really happened in a while, and usually when it does, it's usually NASCAR hitting the caution button because they're like, oh no, this is looking tense. We don't want them to wreck a bunch of good cars right now, so go ahead and throw the debris caution.
Eric Jones had a fuel pressure issue, and he took it to the pits. And then a crash. Kyle Larson, 8th caution of the night. He was running 18th with a left rear tire. Single car spin, so everything's all right. Me and a few other people speculate that since it was getting back to the train from Speed Weeks, and the racing gods decided to sacrifice Kyle Larson as tribute. And it might have been Jim Francis' warning shot saying, hey, remember what we talked about in the driver's meeting. Don't do that again. Thank you. Brad Keselowski has a spin coming out of turn 4 by himself. 9th caution. 13 laps to go. It was a left rear tire cut, put him out of the race. 10 to go. Restart. Hamlin and Kyle Busch lead them off. DeBenedetto, no! 10th caution, and it's Matt DiBenedetto getting some air push from Paul Menard, and it looked very similar to the Clash guys.
It didn't really hit him, but still, it was similar to what Jimmy Johnson did to Paul Menard, so in the Clash. So how the turntables, I guess, because both incidents wrecked the whole field. As soon as Matt DiBenedetto crashed, that's when the rest of the race turned into a carnage, basically. That really just opened the floodgates for everybody else to make careless moves in turn 3.
Austin Dillon, Ryan Newman, Daniel Hemrick, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Ty Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Martin Truex Jr., and Eric Jones were all involved in the first big one. Kyle Busch led them back to the restart, only 6 laps to go. And then Stenhouse does a Stenhouse, and the second big one occurs for the night. Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Ty Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., of course, Kyle Larson, and Alex Bowman all involved in that one, and caution comes back out. Restart by Kyle Busch with 2 laps to go, and then immediately another caution. Clint Bowyer turns in front of Michael McDowell, and it causes another big one. It was starting to get a little ridiculous at this point, and we get red flag number 2 of the season and of this night alone. Hamlin leads them to overtime, green flag, and Hamlin will win his second Daytona 500, the 61st running, and I got one of my predictions right, that the last lap of the Daytona 500 would be clean, and the second place car would not have to wreck the first place car to win the race. It ended up being the first place car winning the race. So that's one good prediction for this year and one bad prediction because I predicted Eric Almirola would win the race. We saw what happened to him, so I'll take 1 for 1. That's fine.
And I know all of our picks for NASCAR Fantasy were busted because, you know, all of us had people like Bubba Wallace and Eric Almirola and Ryan Blaney, but all those good super speedway drivers like Brad Keselowski and all those people got caught up in the big ones that ended up in turn 3. Now this race, it would have been near perfect if it had not been for the final 30 laps or so whenever they decided to start crashing into each other and make the big ones, and there was like big ones over and over again. It was kind of embarrassing because, you know, the best drivers in the world but but like they're making little careless mistakes there at the end. But I understand the mentality behind that. They're all wanting to win the 500, and a lot of them had never won it before that were up there at the front at the end. But really, the truck race only had like five or six people make it out unscathed, and Cup race only had 3 people unscathed with their cars. Let's talk about Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, 2016, he won the race nose and nose with Martin Truex Jr. at the line. One of the closest Daytona 500 finishes ever, and one of the best Daytona 500 finishes in recent memory. And we fast forward to 2019, he gets number 2, and somebody else who has gotten number 2 is Michael Waltrip, and he was saying he can finally say, I got that with you, Michael Waltrip. But it was really special because we didn't really expect Denny Hamlin to be a factor, at least I didn't, and it was really nice to have one of the drivers from 2018 that didn't get a win at all to get their first one at the biggest event of the year. So Denny Hamlin got his second Daytona 500 victory, 2016, now 2019. Count that 2 for Denny H. And it was in perfect timing because of J.D. Gibbs, the late son of Coach Joe Gibbs. And that was a special moment for Joe Gibbs. You really could tell because the emotion was written all over his face. What a special moment that was for him, the whole Gibbs family, and that race team. And also for Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Eric Jones to finish 1, 2, 3. It's a really special moment for all those guys. And I laughed because they went to Steak and Shake after they won the Daytona 500, and they brought the Harley J. Earl in there with them. And that's what my pet band does here at college. We always make this, it's an inside joke. We always make like Steak and Shake after the game, like even whether we win or lose. And so I tweeted that out. I thought that was pretty funny. Denny Hamlin is your 2019 Daytona 500 winner. Congratulations to him and Joe Gibbs' team. And finally snapping his winless streak. Maybe this will make a statement for his 2019 season. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to give this a like if you enjoyed it. Leave me your comments. What do you think about the 2019 Daytona 500? And I would appreciate if you subscribe and join the William Crossland crew if you haven't done so already. And to those of you who have subscribed recently, there has been a big jump. I want to thank you personally for joining, and I hope you stick with me here all season long. Big upload I put up last Saturday was the 2019 NASCAR driver introductions, and that is that got a big boost of views, and that really put a smile on my face. Put a lot of time into that. Link will be down in the description if you want to see that. Looking forward to the Quick Trip Folds of Honor 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I won't be able to be there this year, unfortunately, but I will be watching it as I go home for the weekend. Well, that's all for this race review / analysis / opinion piece, whatever you would like to call it. I plan to have my NR 2002 Let's Play at Las Vegas this week because I did miss it last week. I was spending so much time on the Daytona 500 and school-related things. So until next time, this is William Crossland, and thanks for listening.